Welcome to our 4th build series video. In today's video, we're going to be going over lots of cabinetry stuff, materials, how to prep it for paint, how to paint it, how to assemble it, how to find the angle of your upper cabinets, lots of fun stuff. And we quickly wanted to say thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video.
Whoa, I stared right at the light. I'm blind. We're going to talk about designing cabinetry. We get a lot of questions on designing your cabinetry. I'm going to try to give you some of our tips to make sure you don't F it up. First, there are a few things you're going to want to make sure that you have in hand before you finalize the dimensions of your cabinets. Make sure that you have your fridge, make sure that you have your sink, and any other appliances that you are going to be building into your cabinets. Make sure you have those physically in your hand so that you can put a measuring tape on and make sure the dimensions are correct, not just going off the dimensions that are on the internet, because those are not always accurate. Sometimes manufacturers change dimensions or change specs, and a retail website hasn't updated the information. Now, once you have all of that, you can then finalize your dimensions. We have been working on finalizing our kitchen cabinet, and now that we set our benches, we finished the dimension for our kitchen cabinet coming from the back bench all the way out into the doorway, and from there I divided it up. You want to start with your components that have a set space that they need. So for ours, we have 3 sections to our kitchen cabinet. We know our fridge takes up a certain amount of space. We know our sink takes up a certain amount of space, so the space in the middle, which is going to be drawers, that was the space that kind of fluctuated based on how big we actually wanted our cabinet to be. So once I designed this in SketchUp and a rough sketch on my notepad, then I was able to go through and make a cut list. Once I have my cut list, then I go into the table saw section of the shop, cut all of these sections on the table saw, including tops, bottoms, cleats, sides, pre-sand all of that so it's ready to go, add on any extra cleats that we need, and also drill holes through in the toe kicks for our plumbing lines to go, so that I'm not trying to do that after the whole cabinet has been put together. Once I have those pieces basically to the point they are right now, where they are just stacks of pieces ready to get glued and nailed together, that's what Sarah and I are going to work on this morning. We're going to assemble our kitchen cabinet, which we do use wood glue and an 18 gauge nail gun to assemble our cabinets. These are the completed kits for our kitchen cabinets. We're having a lot of fun around here this morning. Like I said, they are already pre-sanded. I have already glued and nailed on my cleats. So this is like my bottom cleat that the bottom of the cabinet is going to rest on between the verticals. I have my horizontal cleats ready to go. These are 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood because that is going to be attached to the furring strip. And I've gone ahead, I've cut out my notches for my cleats and for my toe kicks. All of that is done ahead of time, and I've even drilled in the holes for my plumbing so that when we put these together, they're ready to prime, paint on the outside, and clear coat on the inside. So a lot of material, but it's gonna make it really easy to put these together. Again, diagramming all of this out is really important. Make that cut list, and then you have everything cut and you can just assemble it. When it comes to materials, we do use, and we've talked about this a few times, Baltic birch plywood for our cabinets. It is more expensive. It's actually quite a bit more expensive with some recent price increases in the lumber industry. But the reason that we use it is because it's just that much more durable than your regular birch plywood you're going to pick up at Home Depot. It has many, many layers. I'm going to show you the difference here. This is regular birch plywood from Home Depot. You can see it has 1, 2, 3 layers in a 1/2 inch. And this is the Baltic birch plywood, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 layers. So 3 times the amount of layers, more glue, smaller sections of wood, which makes it more durable for this application. It's also going to be lighter weight than using a 3/4 inch plywood. So that's why we use Baltic birch plywood. We've done this now in, this is like 14 and 15 vans, so it's held up really, really well, and that's why we will continue to use Baltic birch plywood for our cabinetry. When it comes to fronts, with this completed cabinet, once it goes in the van, we will go ahead and add face frames out of poplar, and then we will install the fronts and the drawers. Now, in the past we have made all of our fronts, but we are actually sourcing some online options to order fronts in different styles, like the shaker style, and even really nice dovetail drawer boxes. Now, we could make all of this stuff in-house, but the issue is time, because we are trying to scale and be able to build more vans for more awesome clients. We want to go ahead and cut down on the amount of work that we have to do physically in the shop and outsource things that can be done better by someone else. And I can make a shaker front. I can't make a shaker front that looks this good, I'll be honest.
Well, tell them why, because look at those joints. This is made by a freaking machine, not a human.
Yeah, his name tag says machine.
And look at that dovetail. It's just so pretty and so tight.
Yep.
Again, that's all cut out with a CNC machine.
Yes.
Robots doing it.
Very cool. So those are options for those of you out there that are interested in doing your cabinetry, because building boxes, that's really important for us to do in-house, because once you get the box in, there's so many things you can finish on the plumbing and the electrical side. But once you get your box in, your face frame in, we can wait a little bit. We can wait 2 or 3 weeks before we have to put the drawers and the fronts on. And once you have the face frame on, you can get all the dimensions that you need for your fronts. Hope that helped.
So here's the cabinet all put together. Over on this side up top will be our farmhouse sink. So we will be cutting that cleat once this is all dry and nice. So the farmhouse sink will sit on that shelf. We're just gonna have a cabinet underneath for plumbing stuff. This section is all gonna be drawers. So like Alex mentioned, we don't put backers here to save on some weight because you're never gonna see the back of that. This section will be our fridge up top. And down below here will just be a drawer because we have the wheel well that comes into play. So it'll be a little shallow drawer, but there she is. Now I am getting ready to fill, so I'm gonna show you guys what I'm gonna use. Maybe Alex can take the camera for me. Trying to hold that monster. Okay, so like we mentioned, the inside we're just clear coating, and this is also why you wanna sand before you assemble, because trying to sand this after it's assembled would be a nightmare. So everything was already sanded with 220 grit sandpaper. We've cleaned it off. I'm gonna go ahead and fill the holes, clear coat the inside, and then we're painting the outside. So for the inside, I use this stuff. It is the natural color. It goes on pink, and when it's dry, it'll look just like the color of the Baltic birch. For the outside, I use the one that turns white. So this turns white. You could use the same thing for both. I don't know why, this is just my method, but you wanna make sure you use the wood colored one for the inside if you are just gonna clear coat. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Clear coat it, I'm gonna prime the outside, then we're gonna do a little sand, paint it, and yeah, there's the kitchen cabinet. Welcome to my painting area. This is Sarah's painting shop up here. You guys wanted some tips on painting, so before we jump into the actual tips, and I'm gonna show you how I do painting, I'm gonna walk you through what you need. Now, when it comes to painting cabinets, walls, ceiling, all of that stuff, we do use rollers. For the fronts of our cabinets on this build, I believe we are going to spray them. Now, the reason why we do this is we really are true believers of having everything almost be at a finished state once it goes into the van. Then at the end of your build, you can do touch up, makes it a lot easier versus putting everything into your van unfinished and having to try to paint it in place. It's awkward, it's weird. If you try to spray it, you're just gonna make a mess. You're gonna have overspray. So this really is the easiest way to do painting for your van to get that professional, clean look. And again, we like to make sure that when we put it in the van, it is pretty much finished. And again, then we just do touch up at the end. Makes it so much easier, trust me. So, I'm gonna walk you through what we use. Number one, get yourself a pair of gloves so you don't get paint all over your hands and you're trying to scrub it off every day. This is an essential. Also, I'll show you when I'm painting sometimes, if there's little things in the paint, gloves come in handy, okay? So, also we've talked about this in the last video, we use the Trim and Cabinetry paint by Magnolia, which is made by Kills. It is a semi-gloss. So we'll talk about the rollers with a semi-gloss paint in a minute. We also use a Kills primer. You always want to prime your cabinetry, any kind of bare wood, before you paint it. So I did prime some stuff already with the Kills primer, and I'm getting ready to paint. You get to see our paint color in a minute too. We use the mini rollers. You're working in a small space. You don't need the 12-inch roller. It's way too big. So do yourself a favor, get a mini roller. These are 4 inches. So we buy the 4-inch rollers. There's two styles of rollers that we like. This one has a 1/4 inch nap on it. So what that means is it's a little fuzzy versus the foam ones, which aren't fuzzy at all. They are just straight up foam. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. This is really smooth. This other one has, again, a little bit of a nap on it, but it doesn't leave really any texture on it once the paint dries because, again, Magnolia paint is self-leveling. So these are nice. These are also nice. Try them both, see which one you prefer between the two. I find these roll a little bit easier. These might go on a little bit smoother, but for the most part, they're both great, and we use both. So those are your rollers. You can buy these at Home Depot. Home Depot. Get yourself a few. You're gonna need extras. Especially once rollers get all filled with paint, you're just gonna wanna throw them away. We personally probably are the worst example. We don't wash anything because we don't have a sink in our shop right now. So we go through a lot of these. But if you're at home and you can wash them, obviously do that. Now the other thing you're gonna wanna get is a foam brush to get in corners, cracks, crevices, all that stuff. Now the reason why you don't wanna use a traditional paint brush is because those bristles are going to leave paint marks in your paint when it dries. Because again, we're using a semi-gloss, you wanna stick with the foam brushes and the ones, again, that have the small nap on them. And you will see on here, this says that you can use any types of paints. What else am I missing? Little roller trays that fit the 4-inch rollers are great. And I think that's it as far as materials go. So let's jump into actually painting some cabinets. Okay, you get to see the reveal. A lot of you voted, and we did go with Vance's color. So it looks like this has been sitting for a few days. We need to stir it up real quick before we get started. But we're about to paint one of our upper cabinets, the small one that is going over the seat in the front. About to paint this and see what this looks like. How exciting. Okay, before we jump into painting this, got my gloves on, I'm ready to go. Wanted to quickly mention the inside of our cabinets, we do not paint. We actually clear coat that. You get to see that pretty wood. Also from a durability and cleaning standpoint, this will keep clean a lot easier than painting the inside of your cabinet. So that's just clear coated. Now for the edges around the front of the cabinet, we don't want to paint those or prime them or anything because we're going to be gluing and nailing our face frame into this, and we want to have that raw wood surface for the glue to adhere the best with the face frame. So don't paint the edges of your cabinets. I know it's kind of ugly from the get-go, but one of the first things I do when I'm painting is the corners and cracks, and that's where the foam brush is great. So you're gonna want to dip your little foam brush and wipe one side off. This is the key to painting. Okay, and then you're gonna go in with your painted side and just get in there with the crack. I should say get in the crack.
So we've now done sewing tutorials and painting tutorials.
Yeah. Now, one thing I like to do is kind of feather the edges so when I come back and roll, I don't have this like big goop of like an edge of paint. And then we're gonna quickly do the other side. And then again, kind of feather that out so you don't have this drastic line there, okay? Now we're gonna come back with our paint. Also, key with paint is work kind of quickly. With your roller, you wanna make sure you're getting paint on all sides of your roller and also roll it out a little bit so again, it's not super thick. Now, when it comes to painting, I like to try to just get it on as quick as I can and then come back to do like my finish looks real good coat, but at first it's like just get it on there and then we're gonna come and smooth it out, okay? I've never had someone so closely watch my painting, so at first it's really ugly. Also, I like working on a surface. As you can see, we have two little pieces of butcher block underneath, so it elevates it, but in order to get this edge, I gotta lift the cabinet up real quick. Okay, again, we're just slapping it on here. Try to cover it, and we are going to need to do 2 coats of this because it's a color. Okay, now when you're doing your smoothing coat to finish it off, light hand. Don't press super hard with your roller. You want to quickly come across very lightly. Again, not pressing, because then you'll have lines with each stroke. And I gotta pick my cabinet up. And there you have it. Now, if you ever see any little goops or anything, you can kind of gently go through, roll with it. Don't like press stop and then pick up your roller. You kind of just, whoo.
Get that goop.
Woo, swoosh it out, okay?
Do it again.
Light hand. Now, if you ever see like, oh, there's like one little fleck of something in my paint, I would quickly use my finger. This is where the glove comes in. Swipe it off of there, quickly roll over that one spot, and then again, even it out with those nice smooth strokes. Now really quick, I haven't gotten this part, so we're gonna come here. Or again, if you see any drips, that's where a foam brush comes in handy. Quickly get the drip off of there and smooth it out with your roller. Again, you always want to make sure your roller's actually rolling. Sometimes these get like stuck and they're not rolling really well, and I have to just throw the brush away, because at that point, like the rolling thing inside the brush just isn't working. And see, I found a little drip here in my crack. So I'm quickly gonna get in here and quickly roll over it before. This is where sometimes it's tricky with these small cabinets. Quickly gonna fix that. And then blend it with the rest. So there you have it, folks. And again, just get nice and close up to your painting and make sure. Sometimes you get little bubbles. You want to come back and just get those smoothed. Now, one other thing that you can do, and we do recommend before you do your painting, is a quick sand in between your priming and your painting. So you're gonna go ahead, prime it, hit it with a 220 grit sandpaper, brush it off. That is something I didn't mention at the beginning, is you always wanna make sure after you sand, you brush it off, wipe it off, whatever you find works best for you to get that layer of what you just sanded off actually off of your cabinet, and then start painting. I already did that in the beginning though, before we started filming this. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the sides of this. For this cabinet, we're not gonna see the top or the back, but I did prime those. You wanna just put a coat of primer on there, but I'm not gonna paint it. So I'm gonna paint this side. This side we're actually not gonna see, but I'm gonna paint it anyway, and this side. But I'm liking the color, this is exciting. So there you have it. There's some painting tips. Don't push, because you'll have all those streaks, and use foam. That's it.
Painting tips from Sarah.
Alex just drew me some lines on this wall, bathroom wall. So we're gonna have our seat here, which is again that brown leather color, and we decided we wanted to throw in a little pop of something, and so we're about to install the Squadro style. We have seen this stuff before and love it. We actually used it in our master bathroom instead of replacing the vinyl flooring that was in there. This stuff is actually made as kind of a sticker that can go over vinyl flooring, tile flooring either, tile flooring too. Can't speak yet today apparently. So we are gonna be putting this up. It comes in, I believe this is a 24 by 36 inch panel, and it's like a big sticker. Now it's very durable. It's actually been in our master bath now for about 6 or 7 months, and it has held up amazing with us walking on this every single day. So we are gonna go ahead and put this in our van. We have seen it in some RVs out there and other vans, so it's a great product. We really like this stuff. It is a little spendy, but it is very durable. So we're gonna go ahead and essentially wallpaper this wall. Now we're doing it first because we need to put the wall in and the upper cabinet in, and instead of trying to do this at the end and work around and cut around all of that, we figured it'd be a lot easier to just do this first. So we'll show you what it looks like when we're all done, because I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not filming during the process.
I might, we'll see.
So this is what it looks like. I love it. A little pop of something in here. One thing when you are working with Quadro style is you'll see they have these grout lines. On one side there is a grout line and a grout line on the bottom, so then when you're matching up the next panel, here I don't have a grout line, but on this edge I do have a grout line, so you just want to make sure you're thinking about that when you're putting this stuff on. But it's really easy to work with. You kind of just peel off the one edge. I started on this side and moved over and just used a razor to cut over there. When Alex and I were doing this in our house, we had to do it together because when you're using a full giant sheet of this, it is kind of a two-person job. But you're just gonna want to start to undo it, and this stuff is really nice because if you stick it in the wrong spot, you can peel it up and stick it again, and it doesn't stretch out like that like sticky wallpaper. So yeah, if you don't line it up the first time, because it is a little tricky, you have a few shots at it, which is nice. So we're gonna try to just line it up with this edge, which hopefully lines up with the other panel nice. And you want to butt as tight to the piece up top as you can.
Heater just kicked on. Sorry guys.
The other thing you're going to need is something to smooth it out as you go. There's going to be air bubbles at first when you're getting the placement figured out. But,
I feel like maybe I should help a little bit.
I'm doing pretty good.
I'll put a finger here.
Okay, yeah, you.
Here's what I do. Here's my contribution.
See, now we're a little high. I like to try to just line up with the other sheet too. That's really what matters most. Okay, that's looking pretty good.
But then there's also the pattern that you're trying to line up as well.
Yeah, that's something you have to think about. So before I started this, see, I've got a little white showing here. I'm running a little downhill. And again, this is where it's nice because you can peel it and kind of re-stick it. Okay, there you have it. Quadro style. Pretty cool stuff. I will leave a link down below if you guys want to check this stuff out.
They can't hear you because of the heater right now anyway.
Oh. Okay.
That looks great.
I like it. Oh god, these wheelie chairs we got now. Oh.
You're taller.
Wow, I am quite a bit taller.
I gotcha. Hold on.
Okay, it is that time again for Q&A with S&A.
Q&A with S&A!
Wow. Today's Q&A is all about cabinetry because this video is about cabinetry and painting. So
let's go to the Van Layout Guide private Facebook group. What you got, peeps?
Okay, what type of paint do you use? Not the brand, water-based, polyurethane, etc. for top and undercoat, and if you spray or roll or mix of both.
Why would you not use water-based would be my question. Yeah,
agreed. It's so much easier to clean. I'll just leave it at that. It's so much easier to clean and work with. We use the semi-gloss trim and cabinetry paint from Magnolia Home. Now, you could use any brand out there that you want, but I would recommend going with a paint that is specifically made for cabinetry if you are painting your cabinets, because it will be self-leveling. It will work a little bit easier, you know, with you using a roller, all of that. And for our van, we mentioned this already, we rolled the boxes and we're going to be spraying the fronts because we are going to be doing a shaker style. Now it's really important to use a high quality roller and foam brushes so that you don't have any of those brush marks in your paint job, because that doesn't look good. Let's be honest.
On the inside of the boxes, we use a semi-gloss polyurethane on the inside just to clear coat. So you still see the nice natural wood grain, and it's just easier to clean. We've talked about this already.
Yeah. Same with drawer boxes. We just clear coat those, and it's nice, pretty wood. You shouldn't really paint that stuff, in my opinion. It looks really nice, and it will be more durable, especially with drawers. I can't imagine painting a drawer. So, next question is from Matt. Where to find Baltic birch as opposed to birch, especially in the thinner sizes, 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch? None of the lumber yards in my area carry it. A lot of people don't stock Baltic birch in their actual lumber yard or facility but you can have them special order it for you, I bet. Because that's
you're just gonna want to have them do some research on it. Just let them know that you really want it, and they're going to be able to probably call their supplier. Definitely for 1/2 inch and 3/4, I haven't had too much trouble finding that. Also, a lot of areas that are like specialty hardwood stores, try to find a specialty hardwood store because they might stock it. What we found is specialty hardwood stores that stock it, they stock it in a 5x5 sheet. Really awkward to fit into your truck, kind of awkward to cut with, but it does work really well and it works the same. The 1/4 inch sheets, I've only been able to find that in a 5x5 sheet most recently. So I can order the 4x8 sheets of 1/2 inch and 3/4. They are expensive. I'm talking like $160 for one 4x8 sheet.
That is expensive.
That's what you got to do.
We were paying like $80 in San Diego.
Yeah, I'm curious what the price is at the hardware and hardwood store in San Diego right now, where we used to get it for $80 a sheet. Lumber prices across the board have just gone up. It's just how things are in COVID times. So
we do like the 3/4 inch in an 8-foot sheet because we use those for the uppers so that we don't have a seam. The 1/4 inch is fine in a 5x5 because we're using those for the door panels.
Door panels and the backers on the inside of the upper cabinet.
That was something we actually didn't talk about in this video yet, so you'll see.
We'll talk about it next time when we actually get there.
Well, we'll mention it now.
Yeah.
You'll see in this video that we didn't have a back on our upper cabinet, and that is because we add those after, so that if you ever need to access any of the wiring running behind the cabinetry, you could pull that panel out and, you know, fish a wire or
this was a change we made on van like number 8, and it was because pretty much every van we were building up to that point, I ended up drilling a hole in the back of an upper cabinet in order to fish like 1 or 2 more wires through. Because these go in before the face frame goes in, and then I screw them in. Once the face frame goes on, they're never going to be able to come fully out, but you can unscrew it and get in back behind the backer panel and fish more wires through, which funny enough, since I've been doing that, I've never had to take it off and fish another wire through. But it's nice to know that you could at some point.
Exactly. Okay, Amy asked, do you have templates for the Ram ProMaster upper cabinet wall angle? Now this is something you will have to figure out in the van that you are building in. What is the angle that is going to be on the back of your upper cabinets? It varies from van to van. We have our own templates that we use in-house, but that is not something we've offered yet.
We will do a quick clip and show you guys how to find the angle that you need to cut on the back of your upper. Funny enough, I actually built a ProMaster upper for a Sprinter like 2 weeks ago. So I was looking through my notebook where I keep all of the diagrams of all the cabinetry that I built, and I saw an upper cabinet diagram, and I was like, that's what I need. I think it was 6 degrees. I built a whole 36-inch upper at a 6-degree angle, went to go put it up and went, well, a Sprinter's 15. So this is sitting in my garage now. If anyone wants a 36-inch upper for a ProMaster, let me know.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So depending on where you have your furring mounted in your van and which van you're working in, that's why I'm just not going to give you dimensions and tell you to build from there. I'm going to show you how to do it. So this is the furring that the upper cabinet is going to be attached to. You can see the example right over there. But what I'm doing is I'm taking a digital angle finder and a level, and I'm going to put my angle finder on the wall, on the furring. I'm going to bring my level down, and I'm going to put that level right there. Looks good. And I'm at 75 degrees. So 90 minus 75 tells me that 15 degrees is what I need to put the back angle on for my upper cabinet, which is exactly what I did on this one, and it turned out perfect.
One thing that we're actually getting our facility in November, fingers crossed, and we're signing the lease today. We will be offering cabinetry in the future potentially for people to come bring their van. We can get all the measurements we need, design the cabinetry with you, and then you'd obviously come back in a month or however long your lead time would be, and then we could install your cabinetry. So that is something we're looking at offering in the future, because we know that not everybody wants a full build, but the cabinetry is a huge aspect of a van build, and you want to do it right. You want to make it durable. You want to make it look good, especially if you ever plan on selling your van down the line. That is just the number one thing people are going to look at is your cabinetry.
Cabinetry is like the one thing that you have to have a table saw for. Like, you can get away with building cabinetry without a table saw, but it's not going to look the same. And so if you're DIYing it and don't want to buy a table saw, it's a nice thing to be able to outsource your cabinetry.
Yeah, for sure. Kim says best plywood thickness. Also, I've seen some people just do cabinet frames with doors and sides that don't have backs or bottom to save weight. Do you think that's a good approach? So for the lower cabinets, we use 1/2-inch Baltic birch for the boxes. For the uppers, we use 3/4-inch Baltic birch. We've tried 1/2-inch up there, but
because it's such a long run for the upper cabinets, by the time you nailed your verticals to it, I mean, nailing with 1/2-inch is just harder because you've only got a 1/2-inch to nail through. So you've got to be perfect with your nail gun. But it also just kind of had a little bit of a wave to it, which I didn't really like. So that's why we're going to stick with using 3/4-inch. You want to use 3/4-inch for your verticals on your uppers. It's just going to give you that much more support. And 3/4 for the upper, you know, because that's what you're connecting into your upper furring, and 3/4 for the backer cleats, because that's what you're connecting to, again, your furring strips on the wall. So you want that thicker wood for those attachments, and then 3/4 for the bottom, because again, you want just that nice straight look. Now, in regards to not having backers or bottoms in certain sections of your cabinetry, the only way you could get away with not having a bottom in it is if it's a full section where you're just doing drawers. And in sections like that, the only place that I put a backer on my cabinets is where it's coming out into the doorway, where you actually see the back of the cabinet. So then I do put a backer on that section. But for anything else, I do not put a full backer on. I'm only running cleats, 3/4-inch by either 2.5 or 3-inch wide cleats, so that I can attach the cabinet to my furring strips. I would recommend doing bottoms in every section, even if you're only doing drawers in that section, just because it's going to give the cabinetry that much more integrity and that much more strength as you're bouncing down the road. If I didn't have at least a bottom in that section holding it together, I wouldn't really trust it over time.
now as far as going face frameless, that's kind of like the European, you know, what do they call it?
It's a European style.
European style, and it's face frameless. It's a little bit harder to do your fronts that way, and we just like the way that it looks having the face frame. It is that more homey look that we strive for and we really like and our clients really like. So that's totally up to you. One other thing that the face frame does on the upper cabinets is it gives you a little bit of a lip at the bottom of the cabinet so that your stuff doesn't fall right out when you open your upper.
Yeah.
Which is something to consider for your upper cabinets, and again, why we like doing a face frame.
Another point too about going frameless, your door or your front then has to cover the entire span of your cabinet, which means that your front is going to be bigger than if you used a face frame. Your face frame is going to determine the size of your fronts, how much you want it to overhang your face frame, or how much of the face frame you want to have show. The bigger your front, the harder it is going to be to keep it closed, because the latch mechanism has to work that much harder because there's that much more weight on it. Going European style or going inset fronts will allow you to use a marine grade or marine style latch, the ones that like you can push in and then that releases the handle so you can pull it open. So that is nice if you want to go that route. Our clients prefer more of the homey look, and so they want like an actual handle they can grab. And so that's the reason, one of the reasons that we don't use the marine style ones and why we use face frames.
Yep, and we put latches on the inside of the face frame and the back of the door, so they still have that latching ability. Now, I just realized as we're talking about all of this might have seemed a little overwhelming when it comes to cabinetry. I remember our first van we were building, my dad was helping us with the cabinetry because he was a custom home builder for 40 years. And I just remember it was like he was speaking gibberish because he was like 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch overlay, 3/4 inch face frame, and like saying all these numbers, and it didn't make any sense.
Tom. And now it's just is what it is.
So like Alex said, be sure to diagram your kitchen out, whatever cabinet you're building, know the thicknesses of the materials you're using. So if you're going for a face framed cabinet, that's probably going to be a 1x3, which is actually 3/4 inch. I know that's kind of weird. Why do they do that? Why do they call it a 1x3 but then it's 3/4?
I have no idea.
So it's 3/4 inches thick, and then if you have your fronts being 3/4 inch, which is what we recommend because that is what most hinges are made for, is 3/4 inch thickness fronts. So you have to factor in that 1.5 inches on the front of your cabinet.
And then depending on how much you want your countertop to come over in front of that, maybe a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, that's going to give you the final dimension that your entire cabinet is going to come out into the middle section of your van. So Sarah brought up a great point. Diagram it all out, be really detailed. Same thing goes for every aspect of your van build. We had a member of the Van Layout Guide community, Drew, come by to get his roof rack installed last week, and he was showing me on his phone his huge list of all of the plumbing connections that he had to make in his van, whether it's plumbing or electrical. Draw it all out, write it all out. That's going to be your friend. It's going to save you time in the long run of making one more trip to Home Depot or Ace Hardware because you forgot one fitting.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And always measure, triple measure, and measure again for good measure.
And then have your wife measure or partner.
Yeah, definitely get the wife's
good.
approval when you're building the cabinets. We did go ahead and put together a blog post with the SketchUp diagram of our kitchen to give you an example of what components we're using and how we're building our kitchen. So that is linked down below, which is built on our Squarespace website.
Which I didn't even tell you this, but when Drew, same guy that was here getting his roof rack installed, was here, he just told me how he just built a website for his father-in-law, who is an architect.
Squarespace?
On Squarespace, because we recommended it. He's been building websites since the late 90s, was formerly a coder, but realized how much easier it was to just build on that platform so that then his father-in-law later on could get in and change stuff or have someone else change stuff so he wasn't stuck forever to his father-in-law's website.
That's great. Great testimonial.
Right?
So today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Like Alex was just mentioning, one of the greatest things about Squarespace is you have control on the back end of your template. You can easily go in their drag and drop editor and change things around. You can also go ahead and set brand colors so that it's easy to say, I want this text in this color, in this heading, blah, blah, blah. It's so easy to do on Squarespace's back end.
Also, you always say mobile responsive, but it is also tablet responsive as well.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, tablets are bigger.
It is tablet and mobile responsive and looks great on the computer. What else can we really say?
That's about it. Yeah. When you are ready to get started building a website for your father-in-law, go to squarespace.com for a free 2-week trial. And when you're ready to purchase your website or domain, go to squarespace.com/40 hours to save 10% on your website or domain.
Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I feel like this was a great topic. Cabinetry is a huge aspect when it comes to building your van.
I bet we'll do more videos on cabinetry, I'm just saying.
And if you're watching this way in the future and we already have our shop, if it's past November 2021, then there'll probably be a link down below for getting your cabinets built if you're interested in that.
I did have one more question actually. This one is from Scott Adamson in Canada, and he says, how many vans can you jam in your new space?
Well, we were jamming them in a lot. But
jam a lot of vans in there, Scott.
We're planning on building 2 or 3 at a time, which we're really excited about.
Plus being able to offer more service work and stuff like that. So
also, we may be opening up some van build spots for 2022 soon, now that we're going to be able to build more vans.
And we haven't actually officially signed the lease yet.
So,
fingers crossed.
By the time this video is out,
we better have. That is for sure. We'll let you know.
So that is it for this week's video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.